In poker, you can choose if you want to fold your hand or not. In life, we can't control the hands that we're dealt, but we can control how we play that hand. It's an element of timing. Timing is everything, as we say. And so, it can be synonymous with football game. The first play of the game, the first down of the game, you don't see the quarterback throwing a Hail Mary. When do we see a Hail Mary? It's when the back's against the wall and we're against the clock. And I think for a lot of us, like myself, as we get through my story, you've shared your story, you're going to be on my podcast as well. It could be something as simple as, hey, a kid was born incompetent. Oh, that's a 7-2 hand.
Hey, what's up, Masters? We are with Mr. Mark Smith again for round number 2. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
Life's good, man. The first time we did this, I went like a knucklehead and forgot to press the record button. So, you know what it is? I just wanted to hang out with you again. That's what it was.
You know what? I knew you weren't recording. I just didn't want to tell you because I wanted to get this round 2.
Well, you know what? The challenge is that first one was so friggin' good. I don't remember it. And so we're gonna have to figure that out to create an episode that was as good as that. So
no problem.
And we will. All right. So real quick, you are you're the 7-2 mindset investor, master of choice. You've dedicated thousands of hours in mastering and understanding the how and why people make choices, especially when dealt a bad hand in life. Mark equips people to make the right choices leading to the right path. He's committed to invest. This is what just really caught my attention when we were on the show with Tim's story. You've invested $1 million into mindset with the purpose of giving, or you committed to invest $1 million into mindset with the purpose of giving back. And you've already invested over $225,000. So that's just amazing. And your goal is to help entrepreneurs break sales and mindset barriers. So with that said, man, thanks again for joining us today.
Pleasure, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's, I don't know if we're going to be able to pick up where we left off because I don't remember where we left off, but it was an awesome interview. And we'll start off, tell us 7-2 mindset investor. What is that?
Yeah, sure. So 7-2. Where the 7-2 stems from is really came about with more of a metaphor or symbolic effect, or you can call myself signaling. I'm not no professional poker player. I like to just some fellowship, hang out with the guys, ladies, doesn't matter, and just play some poker. And, the 7-2, so someone that has never played poker before, maybe you have played poker, the 7 and 2 cards. So you get a 7 card, you get a 2 card. And those, mathematically speaking, are the worst possible hand in poker. Yet on the other hand, if someone has an ace king, one would think that's a great hand. Now you don't have to be an expert card player, but any hand in poker you get any hand in cards you get an ace king. That's usually a good hand. But I think what a lot of people don't see is the fact that although mathematically you want to fold that hand because it's a bad hand, but statistically speaking, you still have a 37% chance of winning on that hand. Yet someone that has an ace king has a 65% chance of winning on that hand. And why that 7-2 is so important is because a lot of people will fold that hand without that level of patience. What's that next card that's going to fall in their life? It could be another 7. Now you have a pair and the other person is now losing, or the other person, or whatever the circumstance is. And so for me, I look at that decision to either fold or play your hand is not a circumstance that's going to define you, but how you choose to play that hand. As Dr. Viktor Frankl says in Man's Search for Meaning. And taking that, I put that in life, which is in poker, you can choose if you want to fold your hand or not. In life, we can't control the hands that we're dealt, but we can control how we play that hand. And that's where it came from. So the 7-2 for me is very, very symbolic. And just really the journey I've been through in life, which I'm sure we'll get into, of why I wanted to create this movement called the 7-2 hand. As Rachel Delato said yesterday, I was 7-2'd. And that's really what I want to tell people is 7-2'd. And what did you do with that hand?
Yeah, man. So I know it's funny. It's coming back to me now. A friend of mine, we used to play poker, just games in my basement for years. And it was this kid, Pete. always played 7-2. Like he knew, everybody knows it's the worst hand, but he always played it.
Yeah.
And he didn't win as much. Like at least he would play it pre-flop, right?
Right.
He didn't win as much. He I don't think he won a lot with it, but it definitely kept everybody on their toes.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you, so the reality, statistically speaking, Mark, if someone's playing 7-2, they're gonna lose most times.
Yeah. And it's a
So explain how this is
Sure.
different than that.
Absolutely. This is not going to be an advice for someone that's going to go on World Poker Stars or someone that's going to decide to play a 7-2 in the stock market. It's an element of timing. Timing is everything, as we say. And so, it's can be is synonymous with a football game. The first play of the game, the first down of the game, you don't see the quarterback throwing a Hail Mary. When do we see a Hail Mary? It's when the back's against the wall and we're against the clock. And I think for a lot of us, like myself, as we get through my story, you've shared your story, you're going to be on my podcast as well. It could be something as simple as, hey, a kid was born in Compton. Oh, that's a 7-2 hand. I mean, we have a walking case study of Tim's story to see what he's done coming out of Compton. And he had a passing of his father at a young age in Compton, which again, the stack was against him. So that's why I tell people it's more of a metaphor. And it's really when your back's against the wall, you can fold, but what are you giving up to fold? And that was the stance that hit my life. I hit rock bottom. I had no choice but to play that hand. And it changed the trajectory of my life. Because I quickly realized life is a game of uncertainty. You can have all the skill set you want. It's a game of uncertainty. And you know what? As entrepreneurs, we make our own luck.
Yeah. So so you are also a serial entrepreneur, a mentor, a motivational speaker, author, and a high ticket sales expert with over 25 years of experience with 100 million in high ticket sales. So also YouTuber, content creator, and you have a podcast, 7-2 Mindset Investor. So definitely, I want to throw that out there. Why? So you're investing $1 million into your mindset. Talk to us. Why is that important? And what does that even mean?
Sure. So, maybe I'll back up the story and talk about where this is all evolved, because it just didn't happen overnight. I just didn't wake up one day saying investing $1 million in my mindset. So my background is when I graduated from school, I had the typical Indian background dream, or someone else's dream, which is to go become a doctor. I quickly burnt out in school, and I decided to become a respiratory therapist. So if someone doesn't know what a respiratory therapist, they're the ones that are saving many people during COVID. They're the ones that essentially control life support, control the ICU ventilators and so forth.
Oh, wow.
And so I did that in my late teens, early 20s, when I was 19, 20 years old. And what happened, David, is it was tough. I was the Grim Reaper, man. I killed 7 people. It wasn't my choice. I was just following orders from families and so forth, man. I've turned off the last breath on a 14-day-old child. I've turned the life off a 7-year-old child. I've had mothers come and slap my face and slap my chest and saying, "You've killed my child." I've had fathers spit in my face and threaten to kill me. I've had to be walked out to my vehicle because of the threats. I don't blame them. I have 4 kids myself. I can only imagine who's this dude in here turning off life support, and they got to shift their anger somewhere. So in my early 20s, I matured very quickly. I grew up too fast seeing this. We go to the bar, my friends would want to go party. I'd go in the corner, I'd drink myself, just drink. Cause I didn't know how to ease my pain. Cause I wanted to help people. And I felt I couldn't help them. I could not help them. My hands were tied. And so I went on this journey of how can I help people? And through that, because these people were dealt 7-2s, I didn't even know what a 7-2 was. All I know is they were dealt bad hands. And then I went on this mission just to serve others and just to help others. But in doing so, I was still young and very immature. And so, I got into the whole high ticket sales. I was selling the ICU ventilators. So you can imagine during COVID, we're on the phone with the government, and like this is a year and a half ago. And I just lived a high life, a lot of ego, expensive parties, expensive suits, man. I love my Tom Ford suits. And just lived the high life, man, partying every weekend, balls of Cristal. But in actual fact, David, I was the richest man on the outside is what I felt like, but inside I was the poorest human being. I was a broken human being. And you'll see this as well as being a realtor. There's people that will look at a property and they'll say, I don't want to buy it because it has a foundation crack. Yet they got the biggest ass foundation crack between their ears. And that's what they got to fix first. And when I hit rock bottom through a bad divorce, there was a lot of parental alienation. I spent a night behind bars due to false allegations. Luckily, faith kicked in and got me out. I said to myself, whatever I've done until now is not working. It's obvious. I have all this money. I have this, I lived in Naperville, just outside of Chicago. I had all this, but what I have to show for it, I'm broken on the inside. And I quickly realized the only thing I haven't worked on is my mindset. And that's where the shift happened. And what I came to quickly realize is that the more I put into my mindset, the more return on investment I got.
Yeah.
And, if you read a book, you read 10 pages and you apply those 10 pages in a day, your return on investment like this has gone up. So then I just started pouring into that. And then I started, looking for the truth, looking for the Morpheuses everywhere, blue pill, red pill. Do you want to seek the truth? This is it. And I got into mastermind groups. I got mentors. I started working on my environment, and it's been tough, but I quickly realized if I invest $1 million into this, I'm going to be unstoppable. And thus far I've invested, it's about $230,000 now. Man, it feels good. It's tangible. And I don't have to look at my bank account. It's all about how I feel.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is on our first interview, that thing with the ventilators didn't come up, man.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So yeah, I'm guessing that's something like I've got this childhood that, I dealt with a lot of stuff from my father, and, that's kind of been there, it's been there. In the last probably 15 years or so, I've worked on it through Landmark. And you familiar with Landmark by chance?
I've heard of Landmark.
Yeah, Landmark. It's some people probably Landmark's an education. It's a type of education. You go super deep, but and Tim's story helped me a lot with it too. So I'm guessing that working on your mindset has also helped you with that. So you've invested over 225,000. What would you say is the biggest change you've seen so far since investing?
The biggest change was I stopped wasting time in trying to search for who I thought I was, and instead started creating who I want to become. That was the game changer for me.
So talk to us about that. So you from who you thought you were to who you want to become.
Yeah. I lived in this false positive for all these years, thought I was doing what I was meant to do and so forth. I was living without purpose, man. It was like I was riding a bicycle and just riding that bike. And it wasn't until, someone like Tim puts that light bulb on there, looking at the amount of energy, and the light's not even flickering. And it's not until you start, it was like the science experiment I did when I was in elementary school. You put that light bulb on a bike and you're pedaling hard and the light starts lighting up. And as soon as you take the foot off the pedal, it starts backing off. So that was the biggest thing is that. And number two is finding allies, finding accountability partners that are going to call out your BS.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. I think there's a lot of friends out there. I mean, here I'm on this journey. I talking to you about before. I threw myself on Instagram saying, hey, like I let go of my body. Like I said, I had everything set up before, man. I was measuring my metabolic rate. I was dialed in my macronutrients. I had a 6% body fat. I was on fire. And when I hit rock bottom, I gained like 50 pounds. I let go. Why? Because my mindset was in check. But I had to go through this journey to work on my mindset for the last 19 months. Now my body's ready, saying, let's go. We have to do this because the vehicle can't keep up with the mind. And now having accountability partners is, hey, I want to lose this weight. A friend's going to say, hey, you worked out all week. Saturday, let's go for beer and wings. Come on. You worked out so hard. It's okay. And ally is going to say, what the hell are you thinking?
Mm.
And it was that was the biggest thing, is really enlightenment. I'll call it that, enlightenment. It was just becoming really aware of my environment. And it's I tell Tim this all the time. In fact, I was talking to Tim a little while ago. It's like someone like a Tim or one of your mentors, it doesn't matter who, Glenn Lundy, it doesn't matter. They got your six, right? They got you. They're watching your blind spot all the time, because before, the only thing that's watching our blind spot is our ego, and it is our blind spot. So I think for me, starting that investment journey into my mindset really unlocked the potential.
Mm.
It unlocked the potential, because all of us are energy, right? We have potential. And I can't remember if I was talking to you about this, but I ask people this is, where's the biggest source of energy in their zip code? People say, well, they'll go back to mindset. Then they'll say it's that most expensive community. And that's BS. The biggest untapped source of potential or energy force is a cemetery. Because how many dreams and energy and potential got buried 6 feet under? Because they weren't given permission to do so. So I'm on this very expensive drug, which is called mentorship now. Not a cheap drug of hope or dopamine. And the results are paying dividends right now.
Yeah. So Tim's a friend of both of ours. Tim did an exercise with me a couple months ago where he helped me see a few positive things in my childhood that I had never seen before, which was super interesting because I always carried it, dragged it around like there was this ball and chain childhood, poor me, that I went through. And it was tough, and it was a lot of bad, mostly bad, but he actually helped me find something positive, which was really weird. And once I saw that one positive thing, then it just kind of opened up a lot of other possibilities. It was just really wild how that happened. But I'm sorry for what you went through, man. That sounds really tough, man, to have to deal with that. Does that sometimes come back? If it does, how do you deal with that? It reminds me kind of like when I start thinking about my childhood.
Sure. It's a journey. And I think what the issue is a lot of us are ill-equipped on how to deal with these traumatic events. And because of that, and going back to when I was my, late teens, when I was working like this, and I just made a commitment that I need to find a way to help people. And then, I went on my journey. It's probably because I was immature in my environment and my, a lot of other stuff that was going on. But it wasn't until I hit rock bottom again, and I should say again, it sounds horrible, but when I hit that lowest point in my life, and I just said, I need to help people. I need to help people. I need to serve others. But the only way I can be selfless is becoming selfish. And that selfishness stems from protecting the house, protecting my mind. Back in the good old days, you go dating, you want to break up with someone. The famous saying was, it's not you, it's me. I take pride in telling people, actually, it is you, right? It's not me, it's you, because I'm on this mission, and I love you to death, but you know what? This is toxic for how I'm trying to nurture. And of course, I'm not going to call them toxic.
Sure.
But, I think what's fascinating, David, is, and I use another analogy, is like, let's just say you're in New York City, right? Like last week, Breakfast of Champions, and if you drove out there, you're driving your car and you got your GPS going, and the GPS is telling you to turn right. And you're like, hell no, look at all the traffic. I'm just going to go straight. What ends up happening? We end up getting there late. We're anxious and we're pissed. Our mentor can serve as our GPS. Yes, there's traffic, but it's going to be okay. Follow the path.
Yeah.
And I find by me investing in my mindset and getting into smaller rooms and taking pride that I'm the dumbest person in the room has allowed me to compress time.
Yeah. I also, based on what you just said too, I feel like sometimes people are so committed to the path that even the GPS, although the GPS is saying, hey, take a left, they're so committed to it that they're just going to go down that wrong path. And it's kind of like, go back to the 7-2 metaphor, right? I should fold. I'm waiting for I'm beyond the turn, right? And it's like time to fold.
Yep.
But yet I don't, because so at some point you got to know when to say, okay, I need to change direction, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes we can't see it ourselves. So we need someone who's going to point it out to us. Like in your case, I mean, you talk very openly about, the relationship you had with your father, the alcohol, all that stuff. I mean, if someone didn't know you and someone just heard that, poor child, bad hand, poor child, bad hand. On top of that, he's African-American. Oh, bad hand. But you played that mofo and look where you are today. That's the comeback stories I love. That's the underdog stories. And those underdog stories are the result of other people's realities.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. All the people listening to this right now, let's just say somebody is dealing with something. Maybe it's just like we have a lot of salespeople that listen to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's in a sales, so like they're in a slump right now, or they're dealing with some challenges. What are you going to say to those people?
Yeah.
Like right now, the market, in real estate right now. If you're a buyer's agent, it's tough. Inventory is the lowest it's ever been. If you don't have inventory, if you're not working the listing side, it's a brutal business. But yet a lot of people are still they still refuse to switch gears and maybe go after some listings. That's another whole podcast to talk about. But what are you going to say to those guys that are kind of struggling right now?
Sure, that are struggling. Yeah, so it's all in your head. That's what I'm going to tell people. It's all in your head. I actually wrote a book on this, and it's called The 5 Mindset Hacks for Sales. And one of them is, sales is the art of communication. One person I've really connected really well with, his name is Ron Malhotra, very, very successful businessman. I love what he says about sales and communication and so forth. There's like ethical persuasion versus manipulation, right? So what sales is the art of communicating. So first and foremost, get back to basics, which is, my mother used to say this to me when I was younger. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Shut the, she wouldn't say the F bomb because my mom's so religious, but shut up and listen. So the key thing is there's a lot of salespeople that love to hear themselves talk. They just love to hear themselves talk. Oh yeah, but this. I've been in calls with some people that, when I was in that environment, we get in the elevator saying, what does the customer want? Oh yeah, they want this product. They want that product. They want this. I go, I wasn't even in the same room with you because you were doing all the talking. I don't know what they wanted. That's what you wanted to sell them. And they blew it. So, Chris Voss talks about this, about tactical empathy. So we, and I believe he was a guest on your show, wasn't he?
Yeah, twice. And then we had him on Clubhouse as well. Yeah, he's awesome.
Amazing. And so he talks about tactical empathy. So and the number one thing for that is to shut up and listen. So that's the first thing I tell salespeople is just get back to that, get back to basics. Because what is sales? Sales is a relationship business. Sales is a relationship business. People won't remember what you told them. They'll remember how you made them feel. The next thing I tell people is just with that, like I remember, with that being indispensable in so many areas. So let's just say someone wants to buy a product or what have you, and maybe they're just not ready yet. Don't just dismiss them. Like keep that connection going. Like it's like in our business, we actually have an investor relation department that even when the market's cold, we're still taking care of our investor. They're the ones that drive the business. Customers drive the business, not the product. So take care of those that will, take care of you. Competition, knowing your competition. Your competition is the person you see in the mirror. So ask yourself, why is it cold right now? Why isn't it hot? What can I do? What can I do to improve myself? Guerrilla warfare. I call it guerrilla warfare in sales, which is really, really important. Because I tell people is that what took you to get to where you are today isn't what's going to take you to get to that next level. So in sales, I like guerrilla warfare, meaning that you don't have to abide by the rules of, hey, I got to do a call, I got to punch in my CRM, I'm going to go, this is the major account. Start, looking for that low-lying fruit. There's so much low-lying fruit out there. There's a lot of salespeople that it's their ego. They just want to get that big crack, that big whale. Crap. There's a lot of fish right here that we can feed ourselves with. So guerrilla warfare when it comes to sales is going to be critical, in my opinion. It's doing things to separate you than from your competitors. That's the name of the game. It's not who you know, but who knows you. That's it.
Why did you say the biggest competition is the person in the mirror?
Because if the person in the mirror, if you haven't improved from yesterday, if you're not the same person you were yesterday and improved, you lost a day of your life. Strive for excellence. Strive for improvement. Do an audit on yourself every day. And how do we do an audit on ourselves every day? Grace. Tim's told me this all the time. Man, it seems like it's a Tim Story episode, but he tells me all the time, it's like fill in the gaps with grace. Even if you're having a shitty day, at bedtime, sit down, look hard for that grace. And when you find that grace, you're creating more of a competitive self because you're improving.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh. As when we jumped on before, like I just got all this craziness going on, and somebody I do business with overbilled me like $1,500. And so I went on to my Amex because they were supposed to refund the money. And then I was there, I saw somebody billed me for $700 that for something that I thought was $400. And then I saw an ad thing from Google AdWords for, I'm just like, what? It was just insane. And then I'm like getting in my head, like, is this for real?
Sure.
And then I've got this seller texting me about her house that the person who put it on, they forgot to put the garages on. It's just, and I'm just like, you know what? And then I'm like, holy, I got Mark coming up here. This all started happening at like 2:45. Wow. I'm like, I got to pause. So I literally just went over, shut everything down, and I meditate for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Got done with the meditation, grabbed your text, and here I am, man, and I'll deal with all that other craziness later. But I think sometimes that's, at least for me, that's what I got to do. I just got to check out for a minute, man.
It makes sense. Absolutely. We need a reset, and we got to take care of ourselves. It's business Darwinism. It's not how much money you have. It's not how much power you have. It's how quickly you can pivot and adapt to that situation is what happens to it. And what you just experienced, like literally half an hour ago, there's probably about 5 billion people in this world that would pray for those problems,
Yeah.
So it's about perspective as well.
No doubt. Yeah, those were different problems when I was a kid. My problems were a lot different, that's for sure. So, amen. You're right. And the reality is it'll all get worked out one way or another. And but the critical thing is how to get my head together and be right and be clear for this. And I think that's a mistake a lot of us make, salespeople, and you tell me if this is accurate, is they show up with all that other baggage.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's because they haven't done the work. They haven't gone through the deep work. They're just doing it. Ultimately, they're living without purpose is what it comes down to. It's simply a job for them. It's simply about hitting their targets. And, Bob Berg, who definitely, if he hasn't been on your podcast, I'm going to connect you guys.
Go giver.
Go giver. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. I'd love to.
I'm going to connect you guys because he's a personal friend. And he made me realize, like, as a salesperson, you give someone a quota. You got to sell X amount of dollars a year in product or whatever. That level is a level of anxiety. He says, change the story. Say, I have to serve that many people in a year. And as soon as you change that and you go from getting to giving, man, that's where the game changes for a sales guy. Just like that. Boom. And you blow through your quotas. And for a lot of people, they're living without purpose. They don't understand what a purpose is. A lot of them may think it's just too woo-woo until they get played that bad hand and their back's against the wall and are like, what do I do?
So what would you say is the biggest challenge you're seeing right now with when it comes to mindset?
You know, the biggest challenge I see is people's mindset. That's what it comes down to.
Just
You
straight
know,
out mindset.
straight
They
up,
can't-
I talk to people and they'll spend more time planning a 1 week vacation than planning their whole life.
Mm,
And Tim Ferriss says this best in the 4 Hour Work Week is the thing that we avoid, the thing that we tend to avoid the most is the thing that we need to be focused on the most. And there's an element of eustress and distress, and it's leaning into the pain of the eustress. And that's number one. Or number two, the other thing as well is, when I ask most people, what is their definition of happiness, it's usually going to be the same, answers. Oh, my kids, their health, my health, a nice house, no debt, good faith or whatever. And the studies that are out there saying that's a bunch of horse crap. It's actually 15% of that. Most people, they correspond their happiness to how they are perceived by others, how they compare themselves to others. And that's where the mindset shift has to happen. There's only one person you have to compare yourself with, and that's the person in the mirror. One of my favorite Oscar speeches was by Matthew McConaughey. And if you haven't heard his book, Green Lights, the Audible, it's all he's reading out loud. Oh man.
Good, huh?
Powerful. And when he won the Academy Award, he said, who his idol was. And he says, who's my idol? My idol is me 10 years from now.
Oh yeah. I remember that. That was awesome.
Right. So asking the sales guys, like, who's your idol? Like asking them, like, and the other thing as well, I think I feel though, is that as salespeople and being in a relationship business, we know you can never push something on someone because that's just going to create friction. I can't go and tell someone they have an alcohol problem because they're going to get defensive. So all I can do is lead them to expose the problem and then provide the solution to them.
Yeah. And
then that's when the undertaking occurs. And, sadly, there's a lot of people that would rather put a 68-inch TV on their credit card and pay interest on it than taking that same amount of money and getting a mentor or getting into a room or focused on public speaking or just sharpening their axe. Yeah. And, so.
All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you. How do tell our listeners best way to get in touch with you? If you have a book, right? Can I get access to your book, your products?
Absolutely. So easiest way to get a hold of me is usually Instagram. It's at 72 Mindset Investor. On YouTube, 72 Mindset Investor. My podcast is called the 72 Mindset Investor, The Hero's Journey. Hit me up. I'll send you a free copy of my book. And love to connect. It's all about service and leading with value. So I just want to say thank you so much, David, for having me here today. 2.0, definitely worth it. Man. It's I love what you're doing, man. You're just you're just an amazing human being. You have a gift, and it's like a light. We got to keep that light shining, man.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and thank you, man. It's awesome to meet you, and looking forward to continuing. We're both, we have a mutual friend, which is awesome, and I'm sure we'll be doing more stuff. I'm looking forward to being on your podcast as well.
Can't wait, man.
I love the 7-2. I mean, now I don't play as much poker, but now every time the 7-2 pops up, I'm going to think about you and thinking about the mindset, and the hand. So I have not played 7-2s, but I was born with a 7-2. So I guess I have played it without knowing it, without being aware of it. So
absolutely. You've been 7-2'd and look where you are today, man.
Yeah. Amen. So what would you want everybody like listening, kind of like Mark's final thought for today. Take it home. What do you want everybody to take from this?
Yeah. Biggest thing is you don't let your circumstance define you. It's how you choose to respond that's going to define you. So make your own luck. That's it. Make your own luck. That's it.
I love it, man. Amazing. Well, I appreciate you again. It's awesome to see you again. Second time was even better. And yeah, man, thank you.
No problem, man. Thank you.